Hello, my name is Adam Long and I'm a board director with the National LGBT Federation and I'm joined by the Taoiseach Leo Varadkar for our Pride Series interviews where we discuss, I suppose, all the major legislative priorities for the community and Pride Month is an appropriate moment to do that. So Taoiseach, can I welcome you to our series and wish you a happy Pride.
Thank you. You're very welcome to Government Buildings.
Thank you very much.
Happy Pride.
Thank you very much. And I think as well what we're seeing there, and I'm keen to get your views on this as well, I think again a lot of the kind of extremism that we've seen we've seen it with the outside refugee accommodation centres. We've seen it as well targeting the LGBT plus community outside libraries. And actually as recently as today I was just reading that the Forza trade union, who represent a lot of those library workers in Cork, are now saying that they're considering actually industrial action because they don't feel that, like as they are, those workers are entitled to a safe working environment. And you have people coming in and they're abusing the staff, they're intimidating the staff. Obviously it's coming from a particularly anti-LGBT plus perspective on top of that. And I think that I suppose that does need to be recognised, doesn't it, Taoiseach, that there is kind of a crossover between those layers of extremism, that it is kind of targeting kind of vulnerable kind of minority communities, and I think that's hugely concerning, and that uptick in, because I think absolutely people have a right to protest, but I think where protest tips over into unlawful behaviour and intimidating and threatening behaviour, I'm sure you would agree that that's completely unacceptable.
And you can see a number of crossovers as well, like a lot of the anti-vax people who were had all sorts of conspiracy theories about vaccines and what they're going to do to us during the pandemic only 2 years ago have now crossed over to new conspiracy theories about what the government is trying to do to children, through so-called promoting trans ideologies, for example. Like it's the same kind of sort of anti-government, anti-establishment paranoia, and it's there on the extreme left as well, but it's particularly evident on the extreme right at the moment.
Yeah, I think the violent and I think the intimidating nature of it, and of course, LGBT plus their lifeline, that visibility in libraries, where absolutely censorship should never apply. If anywhere it's not appropriate, it's in a library. And just having that visibility.
I think one area as well where I've seen it kind of crop up recently, is in and around drag shows, which really is, like to me is very, very strange. Now, of course, some drag queens are trans and others aren't, but when I was a kid, there was drag. There was Dame Edna, for example. There were lots of others, and that was never an issue. It was never an issue bizarrely when I was a kid, and it was and homosexual activities were illegal. It was not a big deal for children to see drag, and all of a sudden someone's decided that this is an attempt to, or is trying to make out that this is somehow an attempt to.
It's very bizarre. It's extraordinarily bizarre, and it's like you're right. I think a lot of us did not see that particular kind of angle, but I think what that also shows is that it's imported. These are imported tactics, and they're manufactured. And I think, as we kind of come, draw to a kind of a conclusion, I suppose, isn't it very important that, what we're seeing in the US and the UK in particular, these kind of culture war, these manufactured, would you agree that it's more important than ever that Ireland kind of proactively and explicitly goes in a different direction to that? That we make a point actually of saying we are not going to allow that.
I do, and every society is different, and certainly America and Britain traditionally are much more polarised societies than Ireland, in many terms. And my view is that that's why we need as much as possible to anchor things in the centre, because any move to one extreme then results in a reaction from the other extreme, and we've really seen that happen in politics and society in the UK and America. And the best way that we can avoid that, in my view, is to try and anchor our discussions, anchor our thinking, and anchor what we do very much in the centre.
And again, you made comments that it was reported in the media in a recent Fine Gael parliamentary party meeting where, there was claims, I suppose, that, trans issues were being, there were so many, correspondence, and in fact there was an FOI, I think, done by the Journal, if memory serves correctly, and that wasn't the case at all, actually.
Yeah.
That the eviction ban was far more, and issues like that. were far higher. So I think we need to be careful.
And look, that was just one many example of when leaks from parliamentary party meetings to the media are not accurate. I think it was one deputy said that, and it may have been in relation to the amount of correspondence he received that week. By the time it appeared in the papers, it had gone through the entire system of Chinese whispers that happens and was reported as something different, and that wasn't even actually said.
Yeah, and I suppose again it's just important that we bear in mind that when we're discussing these issues, certainly we should be cautious not to replicate again the experiences of the US and the UK on these particular issues, because it's corrosive and it doesn't do the public debate any good, and it doesn't do vulnerable communities any good. Taoiseach, just very briefly, I just want to get Ireland as an international leader. Uganda, for example, isn't that usually concerning? The law that was passed there recently, and they're a donor aid country.
Yeah, and that's something we're examining at the moment. When it comes to our aid programme, we never want to take away aid that helps communities and helps people on the ground, whether it's basic sanitation, healthcare, education, building institutions. But we have to seriously question whether we can provide Irish taxpayers' money to governments and institutional structures that pass laws as this, and it's really disappointing to see it happen. And there's no evidence of any kind of backtracking from them. Now, we do have to also bear in mind that this can sometimes be seen through a racial perspective. White people in white countries telling Africans what to think, so we have to be sensitive to that aspect of it as well. I don't accept that's what's happening, but that's how it'll be presented, so we need to be conscious of that too.
And of course, actually, the NGOs on the ground there, the activists on the ground there, have called for action against even the funding to be diverted maybe to local NGOs as opposed to government. Taoiseach, it's been really great we could talk more. Obviously it's a busy agenda, but I think that, we did cover some of the main issues for the LGBT plus community in 2023, and I'll conclude by wishing you and yours a very happy Pride, and certainly we look forward to the progress on those issues that we've discussed. Thank you, Taoiseach.
Thank you, been a pleasure. Thanks a lot.